Hey guys, so today I just want to make a quick video revisiting some concepts about playing out from the back. I feel like in our last few games we've struggled a little bit, and the reason is nothing to do with our technical ability. I think that would be like the last reason that we would struggle to play out. I think we just need to revisit some certain concepts about why we play out, when we should play out and when we shouldn't. So I think this is especially important to visit today because what we know of koalas is they're really fast, aggressive, strong, and in transition moments, they use those qualities to win the ball back quickly. So we might be able to have opportunities to try and use the technical ability of our players to play through them. I just think what happens sometimes is because of how aggressive they are and how quick they are, sometimes we can get a little bit flustered under that pressure. So if we just quickly go through again where we need to position ourselves, we'll be a lot less panicky on the ball during the game, and we'll have a better understanding of where we need to be, which will help deal with that pressure they put on us. What you're looking at on the board right now is basically a recreation of how we conceded our first goal against Christie Park. So if we're in blue and koalas are in red, we can see the way koalas are defending. So it's almost in a 4, so they're back 4, 2 midfielders, then the 2 wingers are a bit higher, nice and wide as well, and then their 2 strikers go right on our centre back. So a 4-2-2-2. What that means is if we have our centre backs back here, we're in a 2v2 against their 2 centre backs, which can make it really difficult for us to play out, and they're right on top of us as well. Just one quick thing to note is that this 18-yard box isn't to scale, which is why these plays are out here, but that would be where the edge of the box is. So just again, because they're so close to us, it's really hard for our centre backs to get on the ball facing forward. So what that means is, I feel sometimes the way our midfield is set up, so if this is our 6 and our 8 and our 10, what happens is they're all starting really high. And I just want to start by a little thing about why do we start high to begin with, especially our 6, right? Because it's just kind of one of those things where we get told, oh, if you're the midfielder, you need to start high to create space, right? But the whole idea behind that is our 6 is starting high to create space for the 3 and 4 to get the ball and then to drive in. Right? If their strikers are positioned like that, our 3 and 4 don't have any space. Right? So they don't have that opportunity for the centre backs to drive in and to then find the 6 up there. So what that means for our 6 is if you're up here and our centre backs are 2v2 against their strikers, our centre backs need your help straight away. Right? So you're not really going to help them by being all the way up here if we're like that down there. Because it doesn't matter how good these players are, how good your goalie is. In this situation like that, it's going to be really hard if we play to our centre backs to get the ball out of this press. Because what was happening a lot in the last game was ball was going out to one centre back. Right? As soon as that happens, their striker locks on and presses. The other striker comes all the way across and forces this ball basically to try and go back to the keeper. And then we were just having to go long straight away. Because as other striker was coming across straight away, locking on, it was going one touch back and then going long. And that pass, where we play out to a centre back and it's one touch back to the keeper, has actually got us into a lot of trouble. So if we can't get into a position where we can receive facing forward, then we don't want to play out to begin with. So same thing. We don't, a lot of times, so if this player here is Sophie, who's played there the last couple games, we don't want Sophie to start really high, or whoever our 6 is, and have to make a 40-metre run back here after we start. Because what happens is you're just going to get tracked anyway, and also you're just going to have to, even if you start high, create that space, drop in, it's still just going to have to be one touch back anyway. Alright? So instead, if they're like that, I want us to see if our 6 and also one other player can start really deep like that. And start right on the edge of the box. So the edge of the box would be about there. And so if they bring one more player on there and hold like that, then that's fine. We can play out there, right? Because we've got 4 against 3, including our goalie, which is 5. And because we're all our centre backs, our midfielders are on different lines, we're going to have lots of angles to try and play against these 3. And this is just the possession games we do in training all the time. A 5 against 3 in a box like this, you do this stuff for fun. The only problem is if they then decide to bring in another midfielder and just leave a player there or whatever, it doesn't really make much sense for them to do this. If they decide to go man for man on all 4 of our players, then we don't play out. Because we're only playing out to a point where it makes sense for us to play out. If they've got 4 people there, it doesn't make any sense for us to play out. Because 1, it's going to be really, really hard for us to get out of there because of how tight their pressing is. And also 2, we can have a lot more success just playing the ball long to whoever. right? If they follow with, if we drop 2 centre mids and they drop 2 players back as well, then at that point it makes sense to just go along and just try and find players up here. Right? We've established that if they go man for man here with 4 players, it doesn't make sense to play out. I don't expect them to do that. If they don't and they just have 3 there, so they bring 1 extra midfielder, now we can play out. Because we need 2 things to play out. 1, we need players in positions where they can receive facing forward, and we need numerical superiority as well. So here we have a 4 against 3 with our goalie that's 5 against 3. Now we can play out, right? And so also one other thing is, I know I said that we don't want to try and play into positions where it's out and then 1 touch back to the keeper. We can do that sometimes if it's with these plays here, right? So it can work if we go 1 and then 1 touch back. We don't want it to be this play and then 1 touch back, because now it's an easier angle for them to come in behind and try and press that ball back to the keeper. So just a note is, when we play out, if we play that pass out there, it's really important that our goalkeeper comes across really early to try and make a new angle, right? Because what's going to happen is as the ball goes out there, our goalie comes across, their player's going to lock in there, this player's going to come in here, but they're not going to be able to get all the way across in time. So if our goalie steps across a little bit and that ball goes back, now we should be able to have at least 2 angles to play out. Because of the extra numbers, it's impossible for them to cover every angle. So if we're all positioned on different in different areas of this part of the field, so we've got our 6 here, our 8 here, our goalie should have at least 2 options to play against this player. So if they can get across early, now we can play either in here or in here. And part of that is just trusting our own ability to be able to play those passes, right? So it's difficult to play in such a tight space, but we have to back our technical ability for our goalie to try and play those little balls through there. Otherwise, if we can't, then we can't play out to begin with. Because it's impossible to play out of a space like this without using your goalie and without playing balls that are a little bit risky, alright? So one more thing to note is, if we're able to play out early, say maybe we can get a fullback on the ball. So ball goes out here, we have time to turn out and play there. Now we want to kind of open up the field a little bit. Alright, so maybe our 10 will go up there. Alright, our 1 midfielder can show as well. We can have a midfielder sitting in here. Alright, important thing is when we're not under pressure, we want to be as open as possible. So if this player can't get across in time, we want to make sure we're nice and open like this. Stretch them as much as possible, create as much space as we can for the midfielders to receive in here. As soon as it looks like we might lose the ball, even if it's just a ball in the air where it looks like maybe we'll miscontrol or something, then we need to start closing in straight away. Because what can happen is, if we're all the way open like this, and let's say this ball is kind of a bad pass and it goes into there, and it's going to be a 50-50 for that ball, then as soon as we recognize that, this centre back needs to step all the way inside. Because if there's an opportunity where even if it's a 20% chance we might lose that challenge, and they can win the ball and then quickly just go whack in there, it's going to be really hard for us to deal with. So anytime, it might also be if we play out, have to go back and then go long, just if that happens, then as soon as that ball's in the air, this player needs to step across early, and we need to kind of close in like that as well. Right? We need to condense it as soon as there's any possibility we might lose the ball. Because otherwise, if we open in situations where we could lose it, then as soon as they win it, they're going to have way too much space in these transition moments. The sort of thing I want to mention is, maybe the attackers are wondering, well, what's my role in all of this? Because I haven't really spoken about these 3 up here. Right? And honestly, the truth is not a lot. Right? Because we're focusing on how to get the ball from this third to this third. Right? It doesn't really involve the attackers that much when we're not trying to go long. Right? Because especially what I noticed with first grade a lot is, and it's not a bad thing, because the wingers want to try and, anytime we're struggling to play out, the wingers want to try and help the rest of the team, which isn't a bad thing. But anytime we're struggling to play out here, these players would be really quick to drop all the way into here to try and help. Right? And when we do that too much, and it basically just crowds space for all the other midfielders. So we want to try and avoid using these players in the build-up phase as much as we can. Right? If we're constantly having to have our wingers come in to help us play out, then there's probably a problem somewhere else to begin with. Right? What the wingers can do is, as soon as any of these players can get on the ball, so maybe we can just go straight like that, then they can look to maybe come inside a little bit, right? And maybe this player can flatten out. So we're creating those 2 options again. Right? So we've got an option to play in there and an option to play out there. because of the numbers, because this player has to try and get across to both, they can't cover both angles at the same time. So maybe as this player gets the ball, now our winger can look to step into here like that. Alright? But we want to try and generally stretch the field as much as possible. The other job for the wingers is to basically look for any opportunity to get in behind. So if we're struggling to play out, so maybe like the ball goes out here and they have a little bit of time, but there's not really many options for this player on the ball, then maybe the striker can just look for any moment where they can make that run in behind. Because if we don't have an option to play short, which inevitably happens, we don't want to just have to whack the ball up for no reason. We want it to at least be calculated where we have a striker looking to make a run in behind. So the role basically for the front three, for the striker especially, is see if you can make runs in behind to help the centre backs. Or that can be the wingers as well. It's fine for them to kind of rotate that responsibility. But yeah, so look to stay high, and when our midfielders can get on the ball, then maybe we can look to come inside and play a little bit more. So just a really quick recap of the key messages is we need two things to play out. We need players that can receive facing forward, and we need more numbers than them. Right? If they go man for man like this, then it doesn't make sense for us to play out because we're going to have more success by just going long. And also the other thing is we just need to back ourselves to play in these areas as much as we can and to try and shorten this passing range. One of the key things that this does is because everyone around here is so close to each other, it's going to be easier for us to play these passes. Sometimes if we're like this to start with and we play out like there, this is like a 20 meter pass or like a 25 meter pass. Or if we play in here, this is like a 25 meter pass. And obviously it's just basic. The longer the passing range is the more passes we're going to miss. So by having this, we're going to, one, be able to make more passes because it's a tighter space. And two, if we lose the ball in any area like around here, we've got more players in this area that can help deal with it. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, so definitely I would actually give this a rewatch as well. Just kind of go over the concepts again in your mind. And yeah, if you have any questions, comments, disagreements or whatever, just make sure to either speak to me or one of your other coaches. Alright, thank you.